Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Your College Advisors podcast. My name is Sean Boyce, and we have with us, as always, Lon No. And our guest today we have with us is Lori Weingarten. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. We'd like to talk to you a little bit about your experience with One Stop College Counseling, which is your business, correct?
Yes, it's my business. I co-founded the business with a partner, Elsie Koo. And then recently, my husband, who is a retired physician, Matthew Weingarten, came into the business, joined us because we had a lot of demand to meet and we were kind of at capacity. So he's been now advising students also. So it's starting to become a little bit of a family business.
Can you give us, I guess, a brief description of uh, what One Stop College Counseling is and what you guys do?
So we work with students beginning as early as ninth grade, and we'll continue working with them until the end of 12th grade when they choose their college. Our goal is to help these students identify the best fit colleges, places where they'll thrive, not just a brand name college that sounds good or a nice bumper sticker for the car. With the younger students, we really work to make sure that they are enjoying high school while challenging themselves academically and extracurricularly. We don't want their entire focus from the day they enter ninth grade to be solely based on, will this look good for college? You only get to be a teenager once. They should enjoy high school. But as they get older, we begin to focus more on the college search and application process. We work with students of all levels, but we definitely specialize in helping the high achieving
And
student.
I would ask, and this can be for the business, this can be for you personally, but what would you consider to be your specialty or your area of expertise?
So we really have a very comprehensive package. We and a comprehensive approach to college counseling. So we cover anything and everything that comes up during the college admission process. I mean, our specialty I mentioned a few minutes ago is probably the higher tier student, the student who's excelled, but we certainly work with students, even students struggling in high school. But our the way we approach it, when I say comprehensive, we talk about everything. So we'll go over course selection with students. What courses should they take? How rigorous should these courses be? How many honors classes, AP classes, IB classes should they have? For some students, that may be taking all honors. For other students, one or two a semester or a year might be sufficient. We review grades every marking period. So it's kind of like another parent saying, "Can I see your grades?" But we can often catch things like we'll sometimes see a student who has 100 in math and we wonder, are they in the wrong class? Should they be in a more advanced class? Or the reverse, we'll see a student who has a C in an honors class and we'll talk to them about possibly dropping down to an academic level. So that's how we start with the course selection and rigor, but then we go right into discussing extracurricular activities, which include sports, volunteer work, jobs, summer opportunities, where we focus on leadership and initiative, particularly as the student gets a little bit older, because that is something that colleges appreciate. And in addition, it's a very good skill to develop. The younger, the better. It's not that typical that a ninth grader will be a leader in their high school since they're kind of considered the babies of the high school. But as they get older, we definitely encourage leadership. And a couple other things that we do, we create a testing plan with the students when should they take their standardized tests. So is it the ACT or the SAT? We have a whole meeting about that. And then subject tests, AP exams, IB exams, we'll go over that with the student. We also will discuss at length how to approach a college visit and how to get to know the schools a little bit better. We help with interview prep and essay preparation. And then, probably most important as they get to be juniors, is creating a college list that really fits the student. So we develop a list of likely target and reach schools, likely kind of being what they used to call safety schools, a school that's very likely to accept you, target schools being more possible schools, and then reach maybe a little less probable, but definitely could happen. We really are not just coming up with name brand schools to put on these lists. We want to make sure the school fits and offers what the students wants and how we want to make sure we find schools where the students will thrive and where the students can excel. So we'll also strategize over early action and early decision choices, guide them through creating a resume, and of course help them put together a great application as
No,
they
nicely
enter
done.
senior year.
That's a lot, but that's a lot of value. So I am jealous of what students have access to today because that all sounds fantastic and it actually sounds kind of exciting. So another follow-up question I have for you is what part of the process is the most exciting, enjoyable, or rewarding for you?
Oh, for me, this career is incredibly rewarding. When I see a student change paths because we redirect them to something that we have reasons and we discuss it, but something, something they haven't thought about, something that they weren't exposed to, and then they start to fall in love with either a particular school or a particular major or even just a summer opportunity, and then in the end when they end up at a college that they're ecstatic about, and the whole process is a collaboration between us, the student, and the parents, but primarily us and the student. And it is so rewarding to see how we've changed many students' paths. It's really a I can't even describe the feeling. I mean, when my kids are both in college right now, but when they were younger, they would literally see me fist pump and like, yay, that the student got in and they're going. And my children would say, like, Mom, they're not your kids. And I'm like, well, that's it doesn't matter. I've worked with this student for 4 years. And my kids think I'm a little nuts, but my students appreciate my energy. So it's very, very exciting to see somebody get what they want and know that it's a good match for them.
So I'm wondering if you could tell us what the biggest myth is in the college admissions process and why it's a myth.
Well, I think there are a lot of myths. I guess probably the biggest myth would be how hard it is to get into college. It's not really hard to get into college. It's incredibly difficult to get accepted into the top tier colleges when the acceptance rates are now in the single digits. But out of 3,000 colleges in the US, that accounts for maybe 20 of them. Um, there's a fact, and this is a fact that people should kind of grab onto when they're getting stressed, and that's that almost 90% of US colleges accept 50% or more of applicants. So yes, there are some that accept 5% or 4%, like Stanford or Harvard, but 90%, just about 90%, are accepting more than half the applicants. So it is not so hard to get into college. You just might be hard to get into one particular college or those very highly selective colleges. But highly selective does not mean best education. Highly selective means exactly what it says. They get more applicants than most and they can't take a very high percentage of it. So that's probably the biggest myth. So one of the other big myths would be overestimating the value of the SAT or ACT scores. It's really hard to convince parents that this is not the most, the defining factor in admissions. Grades and the rigor of your courses are always going to trump your scores. And a growing number of schools are now test optional, meaning that if you have strong grades, you don't even have to submit your test scores. So that's another very large myth that, if you do well on your SAT, you're golden. And it's in reality, it's really your grades that are the most important factor across colleges all over the country.
It sounds like, based on those two myths, that you spend a lot of time helping students and parents to redirect their efforts. What do you think that students and parents spend too much time or effort on?
Um, Well, going along with what I just said about the testing, I think they spend too much time on test prep. We've had students sign up for these intensive summer long test prep courses, and we try our best to talk everyone out of this, but where they're doing 8 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week for 6 or 8 weeks. It's not necessary. It burns them out. It makes for a miserable summer, and um, there's no time to do what you really should be doing in the summer, which is something productive, whether it's a hobby or swimming or volunteering, or your life isn't all about test prep. So that's the one thing I would say students and parents spend too much time on.
And on the flip side, what do they not spend enough time on?
So I guess the most important thing again is that the grades are strong, but assuming that they're doing their schoolwork and they're watching their grades, the thing that they should spend more time on would be their extracurricular activities, making a difference in their high school or their neighborhood or community or their state or even the whole country, um, depending on who the student is and what they're doing. But the extracurricular activities and the volunteer work and even a job is a wonderful thing. More and more teens are foregoing the chance to have a job lately. Jobs are great ways to learn how to deal with the public, to make sure they're dependable, because if they don't show up for their job, they'll be fired. To learn the value of money. Jobs are great. So the next time a student asks their parents for money to go to the movies, they'll realize, like, wow, that was an hour and a half of me working at McDonald's. So I would say extracurricular. There's so many students with great grades and scores applying to school, but it would be fantastic if kids not only can stand out by being unique, but also they grow independently of getting into college. They will grow by these extracurricular activities.
What would you say is the best piece of advice you have for students?
So I keep mentioning grades. So I always with students, we always emphasize focus on grades above all else. But then I would say the best piece of advice I have for students is, um, well, I'm going to go back to the grades, but you need to show colleges that they need to show colleges that they're strong students, that they're ready to take on the challenge of college. Um, but then past that, start visiting colleges early in the process. Try to get an idea of whether you prefer a small school versus a large school, a suburban school versus a city school, or even consider a rural school. Think about how far you'll venture from home, how comfortable you'll be when you're actually across the country or not. Does the college offer majors that interest you? Is guaranteed housing important? Or is Greek life, meaning fraternities and sororities, is that something that you look forward to, or something you absolutely do not want in a college? Are students living on campus versus commuting? Is there an honors college? Does this college offer good financial aid or merit awards? So I would say, again, once you go past the grades, I think it's really important to start getting an idea of what you're looking for in a college and going beyond the brand name and just thinking about what you want your college experience to look like, and then trying to find schools that would match that.
I love the idea of starting early because there's a lot to do. But what about students who are coming late to the process and did not start early? Any advice for them?
Yes, we have that happen a lot where we're very surprised where students come in really late in the process, and we'll say, well, do you have a list, a college list? And they really have nothing. Um, So, yes, for those students, I'd say be very targeted at this point. Get some guidebooks, start researching schools that meet your initial criteria, look at the websites, get a feel for what's offered, figure out which schools you can visit and which schools you can interview at. Think about applying early action wherever you can, which is a non binding commitment. If it's very late in the process, sometimes it's too late to commit to a school. You don't want to apply early decision, which is a binding commitment to a college that you've never seen, if you can help it. And sometimes, if you're international, you may have to do that because you can't get here. But if you are in the US and you can get to colleges, but you just started late, you might want to just focus on early action schools. But you need to focus on things that are in your control. So there's no point lamenting about your sophomore year grades or other extracurricular choices. Nothing can be done about that. You want to take the moment you're in, move forward, and try to really focus on um, targeting the schools that would be a good match for you, and then move quickly. Don't dilly dally. Get your essays done and don't procrastinate.
You talked a little bit about parents, and parents are really partners in this process. So, what advice do you have for parents?
So I think parents have a lot of value to add, but I feel that they need to let their kids lead the process. So to parents, I say, let your child form an opinion on the school before you bombard them with your thoughts. Don't tell them what to major in. Let them start to think about it first for themselves. Encourage them. Don't only focus on brand name schools, because there are so many wonderful colleges out there that they might not know about. But in the end, the parents are the ones who are paying, and the parents are also, they have world experience that the student doesn't have. So I definitely think there is a time and place for parents to provide input into this process. It's just some parents try to take over the process. So I feel like the student should lead the process, but the parents should be there to give advice, to support, to encourage.
What you say is the best resource out there for students and or parents?
So there are so many out there. I For students, my favorite guidebook, and I used this decades ago when I was applying to school. So it's not this edition, but The Insider's Guide to Colleges is a book that I really loved because it it's written by students. So I believe Yale Daily Press puts it out, Yale from the Yale News, from Yale University, but they go to the colleges and they let the students write about what's really going on. So are teachers accessible? Is the homework too demanding or not rigorous enough? They really get into the nitty gritty, and it's in a student's point of view. So for students, I always tell them, go get that book. We actually provide it to our students. We give out the Insider's Guide to Colleges to our students. And then in terms of a quick resource online, I would do the Big Future at College Board, because it's a very easy way to start a college search. For parents, a good resource, if Frank Bruni's book. Frank Bruni wrote a fantastic book called Where You Go Is Not Who You'll Be. And basically, it just goes through um, that you can do extremely well for yourself in your life without going to Harvard. So it's really a great book to just keep things in perspective, because there's this constant drive to go to this brand name school, and it's great to go to. It's great. There's nothing wrong with it, but there are, like I said, 3,000 other schools, and some of them really offer amazing opportunities for students. So I just wanted to mention that book is a good resource for parents.
What would you say is the best way for students, parents, or anyone else for that matter to reach out to you to learn more about yourself or your company?
So anyone could go onto our website. You could either Google us, one stop college counseling in Marlborough, New Jersey, or our website is www.one-stopcc for collegecounseling.com. And our phone number is 732-252-6190.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We'll include that in the show notes as well, so listeners can see those details and check out your cool site and learn more about your company.
That was all excellent information.
Thanks so much.